Okay, good evening. The June 28th Hibbing Public Utilities Commission meeting is called to order. All commissioners are present. Do we have any adds or deletes? Mr. Peterson?
If I could, Chair Hart, I would like to add under consent, item C, approve the last day of employment of Morgan Anderson and as Commission Secretary as of June 24th. And then under 6, I'd like to add 6G, which is for the change control items you have in front of you for the wood conveyor belts in the amount of $82,201. And under item 6H, I would like to add a boiler number 1 burner factory approval in the amount of $44,250.
Thank you, Mr. Peterson. Okay, we'll move on to the approval of the minutes of the May 24th, 2022 meeting. Is there a motion? Support? We have a motion by Jesse Babich, support by Commissioner Andrea to approve the minutes of the May 24th meeting. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Move to item number 5, consent agenda. Approve invoices greater than $10,000 and approve the bills and ACH transfers dated May 21st, June through June 24th, 2022. Item B, approve the payroll paid and overtime report for the June 2nd and 16th, 2022 pay date. Item C, approve last day of employment and final day of secretary for Morgan Anderson as of June 24th, 2022. Item D, appoint Commissioner Babich an interim commissioner secretary per Minnesota Statutes 1969, section 412.361, subdivision 7. Item E, ratify purchase of various parts of the wood ash conveyor system from Ash Systems Maintenance LLC, the sole source supplier quote dated June 6th in the amount of $65,627.55. Item 5F, authorize use of equipment, participation, and purchases of ice freezes, novelties, and use of a squirrel suit for the Hibbing Jubilee Parade on July 9th, 2022. Item G, approve use of a hydrant tap in conjunction with the Hibbing Fire Department and sponsorship of the Hibbing on Howard Water Theme Evening on July 8th, 2022. What will be the wish of the commission?
Make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Is there support?
Support.
We have a motion by Commissioner Bayless, support by Commissioner Garrity to approve consent agenda items A through G. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Move on to financials and risk management. Item 6A, review and approve accounting services scope of work from Baker Tilly US LLP in the amount not to exceed $80,000 for the 2022 monthly financials, chart of accounts, and process manual documentation. Mr. Peterson.
Thank you, Chair Hart. Commissioners, member of the public, and customers watching at home, ahead of you is a request for approval of Baker Tilly, who is a consulting company and also parent of our software vendor Civic Systems, for their work for the 2022 calendar year to ensure monthly financial reporting goes on track. Civic System, Mike Mandler, is with us on the phone today. Mike is helping us through the 2021 audit with very adept speed and accuracy, and would like to continue the work to improve our utility accounting system to comply with best practices for the utilities that are out there, which sets up the stage for future growth. And so with that in mind, I'd like to introduce Ms. Bethany Ryers and Mike Mandler from Baker Tilly and Civic Systems.
Hello.
Good evening.
So Bethany, I was hoping you could just walk through the proposal and just answer any commissioner questions that you might have, Chair willing.
Thank you, Mr. Peterson. Are there any questions from the commissioners?
So I do have a small presentation to walk through just to kind of go through the scope of work and introduce you to Baker Tilly and myself as well. Hopefully you can see the screen in front of you and the PowerPoint presentation. So first, I did just kind of want to do a brief introduction to who we are and who our firm is and who I am. And then, of course, walk through the proposed scope of services that are included in your packet. And then, of course, any questions and discussions that you have. So first, my name is Bethany Ryers. I'm a partner in our energy and utility group at Baker Tilly. Baker Tilly is, I know the slide is a little bit outdated, it's actually in the top 10 of the accounting and advisory firms nationwide. I am part of our energy and utility practice, which is about 60 or so folks that focus solely on energy and utility municipalities. We strive ourselves in having that local regional feel, mainly for customer service, communication, ensuring that you get the service that you need. But also, we're a national firm, so we have those national resources. So if you ever have any questions related to municipal advisory services, bonding, taxes, grant writing or grant resources, I can put you in touch with somebody that can help answer those questions for you. We are a nationwide practice, so we have audited or performed consulting services for basically in every single state. We do audit and perform consulting services for I think every JPA in the state of Minnesota, including auditing Rochester Public Utilities and Grand Rapids as well. But again, having clients that are wide-ranging, very small to very large, we've seen it all, and we've been able to help them all pretty successfully. We are nationally recognized. I work very closely with the American Public Power Association. I'm one of the instructors of the Advanced Public Utility Accounting course that they teach, as well as various conferences, et cetera, assisting utilities not only with implementing new accounting standards, walking through processes and controls, audit services, rate studies, you name it. If it's for a utility, we can help. So before I go into more in depth on the proposed scope of services, I just kind of wanted to mention two things, kind of overreaching all of this. The first thing we always do, especially on a project like this, is prepare a communication plan. We want to make sure that you hear from us as often as you want to hear from us, and ensure also that we're communicating to all the people that you want to be included. So that's job one, to ensure that you get the service that you want. The second thing is that with any transition, it takes time. It's not something that happens overnight. So the first service that we have included in our scope of service in our proposal is to start reconciling the bank activity. So we know the numbers from the audit from December 31st, 2021 will be accurate. So starting from January 1st, 2022, we'll perform monthly bank reconciliations to ensure all that activity is recorded. And in addition, prepare high-level balance sheet income statements for the board's review and approval. Now, once we kind of get to know the utilities better, we can perform more services monthly to reconcile other accounts. But to start off, we're just ensuring that all the cash activity, all of that is properly included in your general ledger. The second item, which is included in your scope of service, is to redesign the chart of accounts. So currently, I know you have multiple funds for each utility that you have. So what we're going to do is combine that into one fund, since that's all that's really required to help simplify your system. In addition, incorporating the FERC chart of accounts into the account string. Now, the FERC chart of accounts is industry best practice for your electric utilities for multiple reasons. Even utilities that aren't required to follow the FERC chart of accounts choose to do so because of the benefits that it provides. The main one being for rate-making purposes. So your FERC chart of accounts categorizes everything by functional component, functional unit, which is helpful when you go to your rate-making, to the revenue requirement, prepare the cost of service, then you can properly assign cost to the correct customer class that the costs are being incurred for. In addition, because it's an industry best practice, it helps you compare yourself to other utilities easier. So you can kind of compare how you are with an industry of a similar size because you know you're accounting for everything in the same way. The last item we have included in our proposed work plan and scope of services is process documentation and internal control review. So the plan is to interview key process owners to determine the current state of your processes and controls, and then determine what recommendations we have for a future state to get to where you want to be. From there, we'll issue that report saying, here's where you are, here's where we recommend improvements to where you want to be, and then also prepare an accounting manual which details that future state processes for your benefit so that you can work to get to that spot. And that's really all I had for you, kind of short and sweet, but I just kind of wanted to walk that through with you. And of course, my contact information is included on the screen if you have any questions.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, Mr. Gary.
I guess, if I may, in doing this reconstruction, it's going to take a little bit of time. And I need to get on the record, as we talked on the phone yesterday, that you're going to redo, January, February, March of this year just as fast as you possibly can. And that can be going even though the audit isn't finished yet. And I just want that commitment from you. That's so critical that the audit gets finished and you're working on a separate project, for the future. And so can you promise the rest of the commission?
Well, the first thing we need to do is to ensure that the 1231 balances are accurate. So if we have good balances there, which I think we're close to, but Mike can probably provide a better update on that, then we would go forward. I think we're close. I do have folks that are set aside in July who, this is really what they do, is they work with reconciling bank activity, helping utilities or public sector folks, municipalities that are in need for these services. And I think we'll be able to make a really good headway in July to get as far as we possibly can. But again, it all depends on what's included and how the audit is going.
Bethany, I could just jump in and give some context to the commission. While the audit is not yet complete, and until an audit's complete, an audit's not complete. But from what we're seeing in the records, and it certainly appears that the cash balances, that the work on those segments has been completed. So I would think that we have, I feel very confident that we have good starting balances for cash for Bethany's team to start working through.
Perfect. Then yes, we can probably get started pretty quickly. Even if the audit isn't, I guess all the dots are dotted and T's are crossed.
Okay, if I can recap what I think I heard you said, you've already started 2022, and he's already finishing 2021 as of today, and you'll be working all week on it?
We haven't started anything because we don't have a signed contract yet,
Is that any?
but we can start as soon as that's signed
the
and start with
contract's signed.
2022.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. That's,
Thank you. Are there any other questions for Baker Tilly? What will be the wish of the commission?
I'll make a motion that we authorize the signature by the chairman for the hiring of Baker Tilly to a not-to-exceed contract as presented.
Okay, I will support that motion. So we have a motion to approve Baker Tilly in an amount not to exceed $80,000 for accounting services. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Next item will be item 6B. Accept as draft first quarter 2022 financial statements pending Baker Tilly review, following presentation and discussion at the June 14th working session. Mr. Peterson?
Thank you, Chair Hart. Commissioners, I just wanted to put this in our record that we did review financial statements that were prepared for the first quarter of 2022. These are draft at this point, and I look forward to Baker Tilly, once they get in and get started with the signed contract, of providing revisions to these for the official record and approval by the commission of the first quarter financial statement.
Thank you, Mr. Peterson. I'll make a motion to accept the first quarter draft of the 2022 financial statements. Is there support?
Support.
We have a motion by Chairman Hart, support by Commissioner Garrity to accept the 2002 draft financial statements. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Item 6C, review and approve summer outage project update and scope additions to PB 2022-02 millwright services, change orders 1 through 3 from Heckovich Mechanical. And PB 2022-03 pipe fitter services, change order number 1, Stack Brothers. And PB 2002-05 scaffolding and cleaning, change order number 1, United Refractory. Mr. Peterson?
Thank you, Chair Hart. Commissioners, ahead of you is is the budget update for the summer retrofit work at the power plant. And due to our requirements, any scope addition which we intend when we go into an inspection work, we know we're not going to know what work is included in it until we complete the inspections. All of those, to abide by our compliance and to keep pace with the commission, need to be processed as change orders. They are intended, and so there's nothing emergency about these or out of the scope. These are just necessary additions to scope once we start peeling things back and looking at it. And so what I've also heard feedback in the past of how projects, were approved for $200,000 and came in at $1.2 million. And, what we need to do is just be very transparent with the way things are going. Everything is going according to budget and all the schedule is on track. The team is doing really well. So ahead of you here is a list of the change orders that we have, as well as the addition of the parts item you approved in the consent agenda that we needed to get in. And then the 2 items that were added later on were not included in the totals here, but would then just start going into that total budget amount. We were able to open up boiler 1 today and look at it and get a full inspection of the burners, and also get quoted bids on the belts that we need. So at a summary level, everything is going according to plan and is on track. We're wanting to get parts ordered so that we can have them on hand when we get to it. We're also wanting to get the scheduling done. So with that in mind, Kurt Zazinski is here. Kurt, if you wouldn't mind stepping up to the podium if you want, or you can rest seated if the commission doesn't have any questions, but they very well might. Kurt and Randy are working together very well to make sure that everything is tracked, and we have a weekly summary of all the contracted work. And we are finding some folks are short-staffed, and us kind of pushing hard to meet our deadlines is resulting in us kind of needing to have very tight controls. So I'm very pleased with the work everybody in the plant is doing, and the project management work is going on very well. So With that, commissioners, do you have any questions? Or of Mr. Subzinski or myself?
No. Okay. Did you want to have Kurt speak or no?
Kurt, do you want to say anything about how?
I don't have anything to add to that. I don't have anything to add to that. The inspections are nearly complete, or are complete in boiler number 4, the wood handling system and the ash handling system. Boiler number 3 is completely inspected and actually has been turned back into service. Boiler number 1 and 2 are scheduled to be inspected once we finish the work on number 4. So we're proceeding to schedule and actually a little ahead, probably.
Okay, thank you. Any questions for Kurt? Okay.
Thank you all.
Thanks, Kurt. Appreciate it. What will be the wish of the commission?
Motion to approve the change order.
Okay. Is there support?
Support.
We have a motion by Commissioner Bayless, support by Commissioner Andrea to approve the change orders from Hecklimovich Mechanical, Stack Brothers, and United Refractories. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Move on to item 6D, review and approve the purchase of two 750 kVA ABB pad mount transformers for specification number 6B in Hibbing PUC Utilities Engineering Standards in the amount of $106,544 from Wesco for the pump house substation. Mr. Peterson?
Thank you, Chair Hart. Commissioners, members of the public, these two transformers are absolutely critical to the functioning of the water utility. And because of the long lead times in the electrical equipment in delivery, we are wanting to get this ordered ahead, knowing full well that the project won't be completed until next summer or the early fall of 2023. So we need to put our order in now to get the receipt of these. This is timed well with the upgrades that we're doing to the water treatment plant as part of our water treatment planning project. So we've done the analysis, we've done the bids. The price level is below the required public bid level, but we did receive 3 quotes. Only 2 of the vendors decided to furnish quotes, and we are recommending going with the ABB ones quoted and through Wesco.
Thank you, Mr. Peterson. I'll make a motion to approve the purchase of the 2 transformers. Is there support? Support. Motion by Chairman Hart, support by Jesse Babich to approve the purchase of the 2 750 kVA transformers. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, motion carried. Item number E, review and possibly approve proposed change order to annual restoral contract for patches greater than 100 square feet. Mr. Peterson.
Thank you, Chair Hart, I'm sorry. And also, Tony Novak and Derek Sabin are here from SBS, and I just wanted to say I really appreciate working with these guys. They kind of drove me nuts, though. Like a week after we signed the contract, they came back and they asked for more money. And it's like, what the heck? How do we sign a contract and then ask for more money? And so I've been putting them, Derek can testify full well. I was, putting them at arm's length, not wanting to meet and talk about how they're going to increase our rates. I also understand that the price of things are going up. The price of gas is a big component in Blacktop. So I maintained that they had to fulfill our orders as taken at the time, and they did that. And so, they did honor their commitment for the first set of orders that they've taken. That said, I also mentioned to them that I would entertain an opportunity to, discuss going forward after they did that work, and we did. And I'm still ticked about it, but I also realize that we are where we are in the middle of the construction season. The opportunities the commission has is either to rebid this whole annual contract to make sure it's fair, accept a change order, or force SBS to accept the contracted rate that's there or nothing. So that's kind of where we are. It's not a good position to be in as a commission, I would say, and so I'm not really happy about any one of these. And so that's why I laid out the options for the commission to just weigh it fully and decide what we're going to do. I mean, I do feel our hands are tied somewhat with our public. The overall increase is understandable, and it's only going to be on larger jobs. I'm just not happy about it. So I just wanted to share that with the whole commission and see what you had to say. And Mr. Saban and Mr. Novak are here to answer any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Peterson. Mr. Saban, could you approach the microphone and tell us why there's going to be a proposed cost increase?
Okay, the reason that came up is when the bids came in, you guys submitted the bids in December. You cannot lock in on any oil prices until either into February or March. So what we had to do was try to guess on what the number of oil, what the price of oil was gonna be at that current time, which, as you can see, everything increased. So the price that we came up for our numbers, because the last few years, everything has stayed real close in oil prices. You haven't had big fluctuations like we did this year. Now, just in the difference in oil, just the oil alone, for 1 ton of asphalt to make, it's costing us $11 more just in oil, which on a 4-inch street patch, that comes up to 27 cents a square foot more. Just oil alone, that's not fuel in the trucks, the equipment fuel, anything on that cost expense. So what we're trying to do is just try to compensate a little bit off of it, you know. And I mentioned that when these bids come out, it'd be a good idea to actually do the bid like what the city of Hibbing does in February, March, in that time frame, so we can actually lock in our regular price. Because if we were able to lock in that price at that time, when these bids came up, then we wouldn't be in this situation right now, where there's drastic oil price change. And that what we locked at right now, if I were to go get oil, it's actually $23 a ton, just for ton of asphalt more, just for the oil difference right now is where it's at, and what it increased when we locked in at. So we're asking just to compensate. I understand it's a situation here. We're just trying to get something, because on a 10 by 10 patch, just oil alone is costing us $26.89 more on a 10 by 10 area. And if, as you go up, if you went to 15 by 15, that would be $60.50 per patch. So if you start adding them up, you know, the bigger they go, the more you're gonna have on each patch, cost-wise. That's why we're trying to compensate. When I was talking with Luke, you know, we'll take the 10 by 10 and smaller patches, we won't add anything on it. We're just looking at anything over, which would be 100 square feet and up, seeing if we could get a $40, just a flat rate. It doesn't matter if it's 25 by 25 or 12 by 12 or 50 by 50. We're just looking at a $40 just to help compensate the difference on our price changes that we couldn't, you know, had no control on.
Okay, thank you. Any of the commissioners have a question for Mr. Saban? No. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Any other questions, or?
What's going to be your recommendation, Mr. Peterson?
Well, you know, commissioners, you know, this is one of those items that I think we do need to, I'm not accepting of the current situation at all. And the part of me says, you know, screw them, deal with our prices, you know, I'm sorry. And that's, I think, the right business thing to do. Although in the practicality of where we're at in the summer, I just don't see rebidding this and having that work. And so, you know, I believe that the concession that Mr. Saban and Mr. Novak made in our negotiations to waive the surcharge on the smaller patches, which the majority of our patches, about 50-50, are lower than 10 square feet. They're pretty small. You know, that was a sizable concession, I think, from our negotiations that I say is reasonable considering the circumstances of where we're at. And there's a variety of patches around town that need to get dealt with ASAP. And, if Mr. Saban would assure me that all these, especially the ones in the arteries directly coming off Howard Street, are gonna be done this week before the 4th and before the Jubilee, that, I would recommend we go forward with the proposal that SBS put forward.
Thank you, Mr. Peterson. What will be the wish of the, go ahead, Mr.
I'm just curious, just so I fully understand, so is it gonna be a flat charge for anything over 100 square feet, or is it
It's gonna be
per square foot over 100?
it's a flat $40 charge
Okay.
for,
Anything over 100?
anything over 100 square feet.
Well, roughly how many patches do you think you do in a season for us?
If, depending what's open, we could somewhere, what's open, just say 100.
Okay.
It varies on what's
Yeah.
going on, and then weather pending too, that's a factor on stuff. But a lot of times you can get a lot of stuff ready and you get a nice day, you can go,
Right.
and you can take care of, depending on the size of patch, you could do 10 patches a day, if not more, depending on situations.
If I could, Chair, Commissioner Bayless, just for budgetary reasons, we've used 100 patches a season. And so far, Derek and Tony have taken care of about 25 at the contracted rate. So our exposure is, roughly about 75 patches for the remainder of the season. So,
And this cost increase takes us till the end of the year then?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Sure.
Yep.
So I would actually make the motion to accept the adjustment and take the charge. I'd also like to re-explore the bidding process and the timing in that to make it a little easier for the blacktop people to bid for our process. I think that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
So I'll make the motion to approve that change.
Is there support?
I'll support it.
We have a motion by Commissioner Bayless, support by Commissioner Garrity to approve the increase in the blacktop patching. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Thanks.
I have one more question though. What about the alley patches? Those are not,
that was we didn't bid that before, so
Okay.
that's
separate.
That's separate. Yep.
okay.
So, thank you, Derek. Thank you, Tony.
Okay, next item will be item 6F, authorized public bid 2022-09 annual wood supply. Mr. Peterson?
Thank you, Chair Hart. This is to authorize the annual RFP for wood pricing for the next heating season. We are working on scope documents, and so that will be presented to the commission before we actually go out for public bid. But we are in a spot where we're receiving a lot of calls from various loggers who have heard that Hibbing has started its wood operations. There's a couple other informational articles that are going on with some publications about the returning to biomass as part of Hibbing's ES&G plan for the future. And I think it's starting to get some attention. I'm expecting that we would have more robust participation in this year's RFP. But we need commission authorization first to go out and do it. And just to reflect some of the conversations and the works that are in there is to itemize a different daily delivery. We're finding a lot of trucking companies and deliverers don't like to haul on the weekends. So the delivery cost for ton wood delivered over Saturday and Sunday, by itemizing it out at a separate level, we can have a different cost by vendor on which days of the week. We also have some need to continue exploring the use of the local yard here in Hibbing. That was very beneficial last year round, and some conversations with the city, needed to make sure we can continue to look at that. And also the continued use of some of the LEA equipment that we have, and how we would look at that. And I think we're going to stratify it into a couple different approaches. The actual request for public bid would be solely delivered prices to the plant, and then within that, looking at gas, oil prices, as Mr. Saban alluded to in the earlier one. Gas prices are increasing. I'm an optimist. There's a potential that they could come down in the future, and I want to make sure whatever indexes that we agree to in our pricing would allow a decrease in gas prices in the future as well, so that it's very transparent. So more to come on that, but this is just the initial authorization to go out for public bid.
Thank you, Mr. Peterson. What will be the wish of the commission?
I'll make the motion to go ahead,
Okay,
authorize public bid.
thank you. We have a motion by Commissioner Bayless, support by Commissioner Andrea to approve going out for public bid 2022-09 annual wood supply. Any further discussion?
Just
Mr.
Just a quick one
Bayless?
for Luke, just because I'm curious, do we have any plans for the assets at the Leah yard? Including
It's a
the-
timely
including the wood
question.
pile that's over
Well,
there?
it's a timely question. I don't, part of this is we have two members of the Leah board, Chair Hart and Chair Garrity as well, and I haven't had a meeting with them to discuss that. Virginia Public Utilities has wanted to sell land in Orr that Leah owns, and I personally have put a stop to that until we have a chance to really evaluate all of our work. They wanted to sell the trucks over a year ago because they didn't work. Turns out we just put some batteries in them and they work just fine. So, I'm not going to disparage our colleagues over at Virginia Public Utilities at all, but we just have very different goals for the future disposition of Leah, and I've contemplated, but I haven't spoke with the other commissioners yet about what would be the best use of that, and I just don't believe that having Virginia join with us in Leah is helpful anymore. So part of that would be negotiating a settlement to buy out the shares of Virginia Public Utilities from Laurentian Energy's LLC 1 and 2. I just want to make sure that I'm not treating this like a venture capitalist instead of a public utility, because that was some of the issues of how Leah got so out of whack when it did. But essentially, Virginia just wants their cash and they want to run, and I think it's an opportunity for us to get those, to maintain our ownership stake in Leah and have that exclusive control over the whole entity.
Thank you. I guess I'll leave that up to the Leah representatives. I was mainly curious about the trucks of the scale and the wood pile. Those are the assets that are valuable, I think, to us, and the trailers,
Right.
obviously.
Yes.
Weekend hauling of wood could be settled with some trucks and trailers if Hibbing owned their own, so.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I'll just give a shout out to Chris Adams in our transportation garage. He's our mechanic out there. And these were the trucks that couldn't run, and we were leasing some extra space in that warehouse to Helene, the solar manufacturer, who was right next door. They wanted to increase their space, and then the Virginia guys were saying that we don't think the trucks can move and we can't get them out. We're gonna have to pay about $2,000 or $3,500 a truck to get them serviced and fixed and moved. And Chris went over there with about less than I think it was less than $1,000 in batteries, and each truck takes like 4 batteries or something like that. Chris just got them started and they're out in the yard. So it was like, show us a problem, we'll solve it, and Chris is represented Hibbing Public Utility as well. So if you're watching at home, Chris, thank you again for doing that, because it really helps make sure that we're getting the best opportunities for our ratepayers in the future. So.
Any other discussion? Okay. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Okay, next item, which was added to the agenda, will be item 6G, request for funding to replace wood conveyor system belts. Mr. Peterson?
Thank you, Chair Hart, and I apologize, first of all, for the delay in getting these two and just bringing them to the commission. This normally would have been included in the item 6C, which was the whole change control scope modifications that we've done. Because we already have contracts with United Refractory for the work upon the inspection of Boiler 1, item 6H was brought up, and we can talk about that later. This item is the actual belt that is going to be used in the, throughout the whole wood handling system. All of the belts need to be replaced. We are looking at delivery time considerations as being a long lead item, and it doesn't matter, we need the belts anyway, so if we're going to be starting wood operations, we would just be putting these belts in inventory. But because of the cost of the total of all these belts is greater than my ability to approve, it requires commission action. So I took the opportunity to add this to the agenda tonight. Apologies for any last-minute consideration there. It is just timely that we get these ordered. And then so that's item 6G.
Thank you, Mr. Peterson. So on the last page, we have a total of $88,405.50. Is that the final amount then?
That is the correct amount, Chair Hart. And these quotes were performed by Kurt Subzinski from Bar Engineering, and we compared Baldwin and NBC, and Baldwin was the low quote.
Right. Okay, thank you. I'll make a motion to approve the conveyor system parts purchase to Baldwin Supply in the amount of $88,405.50. Is there support? Support. We have a motion by Chair Hart, support by Commissioner Babich to approve the purchase of conveyor belting and parts to Baldwin Supply in the amount of $88,405.50. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Item 6H, which was added to the agenda. We have a Boiler 1 burner refractory rebuild. Mr. Peterson.
Thank you, Chair Hart. And again, apologies for the delay bringing this in here. This is hot off the press, literally. We just took Boiler 1 offline last Friday it was cooled, and then earlier this week it was locked out. And so the inspection began in earnest early this week. Kurt probably still has some soot on his pants from crawling around Boiler 1 all day, taking the picture that you show on here. So this is brand new, but because this is a major, well, I don't want to say this is major. This is a critical discovery that was found upon inspection, that the burner has caused some overheating, and we knew there would be, over the last couple of weeks, we've discovered some overheating on the boiler wall, and this was the problem. So this is a new problem discovered throughout our planned routine maintenance. It's also very timely. It's a new item, and so it requires commission approval because it's over the 44,000, it's over the 25,000 that I can approve. So.
Thank you, Mr. Peterson. What will be the wish of the commission?
I'll make a motion, we approve the request.
Is there support? We have a motion by Commissioner Gary, support by Commissioner Bayless to approve the Boiler 1 burner refractory rebuild in the amount of $44,250. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Item 7A, under policy and governance, approve the hiring of Mr. Peter W. Jensen as apprentice line worker following successful completion and satisfactory reviews of his internship with the Hibbing Public Utilities. Mr. Peterson?
Thank you, Chair Hart. As you are all aware, recruiting and hiring the best talent is some of the biggest challenges of any organization, especially during this time period. And I wanted to just make a call out to Peter, who has been the first intern at Hibbing Public Utilities in over 10 years. And that is, and I'll give him credit because he is from Hibbing, from Side Lake area, and had reached out to me directly while he was in lineman school to see if we would have an internship program. Because of COVID, a lot of companies, the larger investment-owned utilities like Minnesota Power and even Lake Country, were suspending their internship programs. And I also noticed the need on our line crew with everything we have going on with the GIS system and then outage restorals that we have, that great ability to give back to the new generation that will be the future generation running this utility at some point. is very neat. So it didn't take much convincing to get Peter hired on as an intern, and lo and behold, his internship is complete, and we posted an open line worker position. Peter's internship has been very successful. He's impressed all of the crews he's worked with. He fits along well with the crew. Esko Savala, our line crew foreman, gives his highest regards for Peter and his work, and we would like him to continue on, pending commission approval as the apprentice line worker.
Thank you, Mr. Peterson. I've heard positive things about Mr. Jensen, and it sounds like he'd be a good fit at the Hibbing Public Utilities. I'll make a motion to hire him. Is there support? Mr. Andrea. We have a motion by Chair Hart, support by Commissioner Andrea to hire Mr. Jensen as apprentice line worker. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, motion carried.
Thank you.
Item 7B, under policy and governance, approve the hiring of Linda Heikela, temporary payroll employee and outsourced payroll onboarding specialist through August 2022. Mr. Peterson?
Thank you, Chair Hart. Ms. Hakela has helped Hibbing Public Utilities the last couple of months as a 1099 contract employee, just doing invoice entry. It's pretty minor work. Ms. Hakela is a long-term controller of Domex who recently retired, and she is also a payroll specialist that has worked a lot with converting prior payroll systems to ADP. We've had a couple of snafus with our processing of our payroll through a complicated system we have currently, and ADP is our desired choice for the future to ensure electronic timekeeping as well as automatic payroll processing. And the annual cost of ADP is going to be less than about an eighth of a person to have all the payroll completely outsourced. That said, it's going to take some time to implement. And so Ms. Hakela is filling in on a temporary basis only through the month of August. She only wants to work 20 hours a week, and she only wanted to work 1 month. I told her we need more. And so she twisted my arm and asked for a raise. And so that's what we got. And so we need her. I recommend hiring her for this short term. Period.
Thank you, Mr. Peterson. What will be the wish of the commission?
I'll make the motion to approve the hiring.
Support.
We have a motion by Commissioner Bayless, support by Commissioner Garrity to approve the hiring of Linda Heikela as temporary payroll employee and outsourced payroll onboarding specialist through August 2022. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, motion carried. Item 7C, approve the hiring of Terry L. Freider as accounting and human resource specialist pending satisfactory completion of pre-employment screening and background check. Mr. Peterson?
Thank you, Chair Hart. Attached, Commissioners, for your consideration is the hiring of Terry Freider for the payroll specialist position and human resources pending satisfactory completion of the background check. Terry has applied to the position originally that we had filled with Ms. Lowe. Terry was in the initial finalist position and had since since been working with the St. Louis County Sheriff's Department. Upon our discussions, I was able to convince Terry to reinstate her application for the public utilities, the previous position, and she is interested in joining the team. And with that in mind, I recommend hiring Terry. Her resume is attached. You'll see that she's had experience in payroll processing and accounts receivable, accounts payable for a while. She'll be very helpful in the accounting, payables, and HR roles over the next couple of years.
Thank you, Mr. Peterson. What will be the wish of the commission?
I'll make a motion to there.
Okay. Is there support? We have a motion by Commissioner Babich, support by Commissioner Andrea to approve the hiring of Terry L. Freider as accounting and human resource specialist pending satisfactory completion of a pre-employment screening and background check. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Next will be, is there any new or old business from any of the commissioners? If not, we'll move to the next item, which would be a closed session to discuss the general manager performance evaluation. Do I have a motion to move into closed session?
So moved.
Oh,
Chair, if I
Mr.
could, closed session is authorized by Minnesota statute 13D.05, subdivision 3, parents, A, parents, to allow, it's a situation in which they can go into closed session, you aren't required to. It's Mr. Peterson's evaluation. If he'd like it in open session, he can, but he could request it be closed, which is, I believe he wants to do it in a closed session, so that's why you can have this motion now.
Okay.
Okay.
Got a
So
motion?
moved.
Is there support?
Support.
We have a motion by Commissioner Bayless, support by Commissioner Garrity to move into closed session to discuss the general manager performance evaluation. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you.